me a little bit of a dinner that Annie and I attended not too long ago in Columbus. And the person introducing me got all carried away with accolades and accomplishments and said nice things that I never dreamed would happen to me in this life or the next. And finished up this over-generous introduction by finally saying, there are few truly great men in this world. And then he introduced me. Now that's rather heady. And so going home that night, I guess I was still thinking about that introduction. I said, Annie, you know, if you think about it, there aren't very many really, truly great men in this world. And it took her about 2 seconds to say, let me tell you something, there's sure one less than you think there is. Annie. We're getting to the age where we're into the replacement business. You know, the parts of your life the parts of your body only have a certain warranty, and our warranties are beginning to run out. And we both had knee replacements this past year, and so Andy is still recovering from that knee replacement, so she didn't hop up there. I want to say, too, there's another thing about Steve Lindsay that I want to make sure everybody understands, and that is that you know, I really wanted to go out on a spacewalk up there, but Steve said no on that second flight. And the reason he gave was because he felt that at my age, I might wander off someplace. But this thing of age, you know, I seem to be the recipient of a lot of emails these days about age, and people want to send me their comments and their jokes, and some of them I thought were pretty good. We might just share those very briefly here today. I won't take up a lot of time with these, but one I liked too was about the elderly gentleman who leaves his home. He's going to drive downtown. He's gone about 10 minutes and he gets a call on the car radio, and it's his wife, and she says, "Oh, Fred, please be careful, because I just saw on TV where there's a car driving the wrong way on the freeway." And he says, "Mary, there's not one, there are hundreds of them." Another was about the 3 old astronauts out walking across the ramp, and you know, your faculties do change as you get older. Unfortunately, that's true. Ear additions that help you hear right and so on. And so these 3 elderly astronauts are walking across the ramp, and the first one said, "It's windy." The second one says, "No, it's Thursday." And the last said, "Oh, me too, let's go get a beer." But the one I like best, I guess, and this one is true, this one sent to me. This one happens to be a letter. I received an actual letter I received from a boy in Illinois. And he said, I won't give his name here, but he writes me this letter, and he says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm 9 years old, in 3rd grade at so-and-so school, Illinois. I wish you could come. Just recently, I had to do a biography report. I picked you because I wanted to learn about the first American orbiter. I loved reading about your life. When I had to do my presentation, I made a poster and dressed up like an astronaut." And he asks a couple more questions, but then he finishes with this, which I think is really great. He says, "I'm glad you're still alive, because a lot of my classmates' biography choices are already dead. I hope you write back." I must say that letter got the fastest reply out of my office. Well, 50 years ago, it's hard to believe it's been that long. It seems very vivid to me. It seems more like a couple of weeks. And I guess it's natural, because we were experiencing some things, or I was experiencing some things we hadn't had the opportunity to really experience before, so it was vividly impressed on me at that time. Already been mentioned, it was the days of the Cold War. And these were days when we didn't know communism, what was going to be the role of communism in the future. And the Soviets at that time had been bragging that they were superior to us, that they had better technology, better research, because their rockets were going into space while ours were too often blowing up on the launch pad. And they were taking students into the Soviet Union by the thousands and training them and giving them their education and sending them back to their countries as communist emissaries, in effect. And so it was a time when we were at a period of sort of self-doubt, and along about that time is when our space program started, and so that was a lot of the impetus for us. But I believed even at that time, even though that was part of the driving force, that there was far more to the space program than just that kind of technical competition back then. I thought then that people had looked up for many thousands of years and wondered what was up there and what we could do. We could travel up there. And what would we learn? Would we learn anything? Who knew? Nobody knew. There's one thing that our nation is founded on is a lot of curiosity. It's wanting to do these things. It's wanting to know the new and the unknown. And that's what's led us ahead. And if you think about it, every bit of progress ever made by human beings has been because somebody was curious about what was up there. Not just me, but I mean in every field, not up there, but in medicine and in fabric and in steel and in just 100 different areas. Somebody has to be curious about how you can do things differently or new and better, and we take steps to learn those new things. And it seems to me that where NASA fits into this whole thing is a very invaluable role to our nation today. We're under international competition again in the trade area and people that are outdoing us in things that we have always considered us leaders in. We've always been considered ourselves leader in education. Education in this country was not just for the rich kids or the kids from the castle, it was for everybody. And out of that we wound up with a better educated citizenry in general than any nation previous to this. Education was not just for the kids from the castle or the rich kids. It was for everybody. And that was something new and different. And then along with that came this curiosity. It didn't come just from the expansion to the west, off of that Atlantic plain. It came because we were a curious, questing nation that wondered about the unknown and wanted to do something about it. And so we put more into basic research than any nation in history. And we learned the new things first, and with an educated citizenry, just a little bit of investment, and away we went, and the rest of the world followed. And if you think about it, the U.S. in our time period from the Revolutionary War to 1900, only about 125 years, went from a nothing nation along the eastern seaboard to the leader of the world in 125 years. No nation had ever done that. I think the education and research are the two things that led that. Now, NASA fits that role exactly. Helps in education, entices our young people to be more actively involved in school and their education, and certainly is a leader in research. That's the reason I supported the International Space Station the way I did and helped work for its support in the Senate when I was there. It took us 18 years to put that whole thing together and get it up to where it was useful, and I still think Charlie and I have talked about this a number of times, and I think it was too bad that without getting too political, I think it's too bad that a previous generation or a previous administration decided that we're going to change objectives, we're going to go to the moon and set up a base on the moon, and that's fine. I don't disagree with that at all. And on to Mars, don't disagree with that at all. But the decision was made not to provide any more budget money to pay for it. Now, how are you going to do that? I don't know. And so the decision was made that since NASA had to do all this new stuff with an existing budget, that they cut the space shuttles, which were our only means of getting to the station. This most unique laboratory ever built by anybody, anytime. And so that's the situation we're in today. We have to send our people over to Russia to be launched to go to our own space station, and Charlie's working every day as hard as he can to make sure that, along with Steve, who's now with one of the companies that's doing some of the experimenting, trying to get a new spacecraft, a new booster, so we can have our own transportation back and forth to resume the proper place at the United States. That role as being unique, the most unique laboratory ever put together by human beings, is the International Space Station. It has the greatest potential. And they've been putting as much research there as you can, limited by the limitations of what we can put up by contracting with the Russians to do it. So and that's not much, because when you contract with them, the Soyuz vehicle that they are using to put our people up into space has very little capacity beyond just putting the 3 people up there on each load. And they have a progress vehicle that's unmanned that goes up that can take food and things like that. But we don't have any heavy lift capability to really do some of the research that we had thought we were going to be able to do on that International Space Station. So I think, to summarize all of this, I didn't mean to give an engineering lecture or a letter trying to just propose that we support the International Space Station. We all have done that. I mean, but I think that the role of NASA in the future is going to be expanded as we get our own our own transportation system back to go into space and go to the International Space Station. And to the administration's credit, now they've extended that limitation that was put on the station of 2015, and extended that out to 2020, and with discussion going on, as I understand it, to extend it well beyond that period of time. So I think we still can get a lot of benefit out of this. The benefit of a commemoration like this, the benefit is not just to honor somebody like me who was fortunate to be around at the right place and right time, and to be selected to do a mission that any one of the astronauts here could have done, would be willing to have done. The important thing is, as we look back, and as we see each step along the way, it provides us an insight into what we may be able to do